another episode of Close Knit Family.
Yay!
Yes, this is episode 2. It's it's Monday, April
16th. April 16th.
April 16th.
2018.
I told you he was smart. Anyway, so welcome. Yes, we're coming to you from the glorious North Okanagan. Those lights are really kind of playing havoc with my glasses, aren't they? Oh well. Anyway, I could take them off. It's almost like being naked. But no. Okay. Ew. So.
Knitting.
We're actually we are in Armstrong, BC, Canada, and yes, we're here to talk about knitting stuff. And I'm Sue.
I'm Michael.
And we are getting Mike started knitting.
Yay!
And we're doing some teaching Mike how to knit.
Yeah.
And seeing how his progress goes and seeing what happens. And while we're out at it, we're looking at some of the stuff I'm knitting on. And while we're doing that, hopefully we're getting to know a little bit more about you. That's my idea anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, honesty police. I'm not feeling 100% today. I've got something going on, and I have one of those lymph nodes that's all like swollen and painful, and the doctor says that I have an infection somewhere, but we have no idea where or why. So anyway, if my energy seems a little low, I apologize because, well, yeah, I'm not feeling great.
Yeah.
As Mike said, I'm sick and
I'm tired.
So anyway, there we go. So let's talk about Mike's knitting.
Hi! So, as my first order of knitting, Mom gave me a sampler scarf pattern to knit, and at the end of the last episode, you told me you only want me to get section 1 done.
The garter section.
Just the garter section. So I got a lot, I don't know how to hold these things, I got a lot more done than just the garter stitch section.
Bring it up close.
Yeah, okay, so
I started him with a garter stitch section. I put a little stitch marker there so he would know front from back. Then I had him do a stocking stitch section. Then I had him do sort of a checkerboard, alternating back and forth section. Can you see that tension? Like, I'm sorry, for a and he picked it up and he just started going, and like there are some, a few places where you can see like there's a little bit of tension problem, like right there, but holy crow, for someone who hasn't really, and then seed stitch like a pro, he was actually surprised because he was expecting this to come out as like ribbing. Mm-hmm. He didn't know that's what it was called, but that's what he was expecting to see. Oh, peekaboo. Okay. So yeah, and he motored through this in what, like
2 or 3 days.
2 days.
2 or 3 days.
And he kept saying he was rushing and hurrying along because he wanted to get to. I had the next section to come up is an eyelet section, so knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over. And he was rushing to get there, and then he decided to stop, which is fine.
Yeah, so I could sort of, update before I get there on what I've done. And, yeah, it turns out, having not knit in 10 years, I still remember how to knit. It was just the purling that I needed reminding on.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So, what have you learned so far?
Count your stitches after every row.
Okay, why?
Be particularly with purling, and when you're moving the yarn from one side to another, if you do it the wrong way, you make a stitch.
Right.
That's...
And so what did I tell you about that? How to avoid doing that?
I I don't remember. I think I've internalized it now, and it's just something that I do.
So when you bring your yarn to front to back, make sure you go in between your two needles.
Yes. Okay.
And not over top.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, I just internalized that as
right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what did you find hard?
What did I find hard? Probably the hardest part at first was actually the checkerboard section. Just the flipping back and forth between knitting and purling multiple times a row. I was prone to making like even 2 or 3 stitches on a row instead of just the one that I would do when I was doing the stocking stitch.
And what did you learn about when you have that? Because believe me, there were a lot of Mom, I screwed up again.
Yeah.
And what did we do every time?
We instead of like backing up, we instead kept knitting until we got to the part where the problem was, and then looked at it and saw what the issue was. And yeah.
Do you think that you can identify what the problems are now?
I can identify some problems.
Okay.
What
kinds of things was I looking for?
You were looking for where the bump was, which which side the stitch had fallen onto, or if there was a stitch that had fallen onto a side.
So I was looking to see where was there supposed to be an actual stitch, mm-hmm. Where was a stitch actually made, mm-hmm. Because I think all of the problems that you brought me were places where you had brought the yarn forward or back without getting in between the two needles.
Yeah, I think. Well, there was also a couple where it was like when you do the thing where you pull the old stitch off your needle.
When you make a stitch.
When you make a stitch, I was actually like pulling it onto the other needle, because in that little.
Yeah, so he wasn't completing the stitch.
Yeah.
So. And if you've knitted before, you know what we mean. You've got your stitch, but you've also from the lower row, and you've got your yarn that should have gone through that stitch is still hanging out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so you just basically you need to get to the point where because you were able to identify where it had gone wrong.
Yeah.
So you need to be there in order to figure out what you need to do, and then the fixes are usually pretty simple.
Yeah. It's just. The hardest ones I found to fix were the ones where I didn't complete the stitch.
Right.
I was never quite sure which part needed to go where, but maybe that'll be something that I'll figure out. That'll
come with learning how to read mm-hmm. your knitting and understanding what the stitches look like and what they do and what they present.
Yeah.
So what did you like or dislike so far?
So far I've what have I liked or disliked? Well, I mean, it's all good. I enjoyed knitting all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, the interest, the sort of the counting of the checkerboard section was interesting because I had to be constantly counting 1, 2, 3, 4 switch 1, 2, 3, 4 switch.
So we know about that, right? A straight stockinette sweater or scarf or anything, which is what the traditional like just straight up knitting with nothing changing and nothing going on is so boring.
Yeah.
So it's good to have something to look forward to.
Yeah, and I'm very happy, now that I know what a siege stitch looks like, I'm very happy with how that turned out. And I'm frankly just still floored that I remember how to knit, having not knit in like 10 years.
Yeah, it's muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Have you chosen your next okay, so he still has to I think I've only given you one more section, and after that you can decide if you want to repeat it all.
Yes, only one more section.
So an eyelet section is coming up.
Yeah.
And then you can decide if you want to run through it again just to, get her down. But have you chosen the next project?
I have chosen the next project.
What's your next project, Mike?
It is called Tread by Very Shannon on Ravelry. It's a toque.
It's the Tread hat. So anyone who follows the Cozy Up Stitch and Sisters knows they've talked a lot about this, and it's Shannon Cook is the pattern creator, and it's I was looking. I went looking for suggestions for Mike for him to pick from, and I kept looking at hats that were like straight stockinette, and then I thought, okay, no, like that goes against everything that I know about knitting. You want to do something that's got a little bit of interest to it. So with the Tread hat, as you can see, there's some fun stuff happening all the way through it. And it's a pretty straightforward knit other than that. And so when Mike finishes his sampler, we'll be moving on to that, which I think is kind of cool. So we'll need to pick out some yarn.
Yep. We'll probably film that.
Well, yeah, we'll go to the yarn store and talk to people at the yarn store.
Talk to people.
I know, right?
Okay.
We can do it. Okay, so good job. High five.
Thank you.
All right. So what I picked up and was working on this week, I had my Graphite Tank was on my to-do list. But the other thing that I picked up and was knitting on this week is this Ponchini by Stephen B. And this is actually the second time I've knit it. The first time I knit it, it just came out a lot smaller than I was expecting it. So I pulled it all out and I started again.
I seem to remember, I remember you knitting a ponchini at some point.
Yeah. And so now I am knitting it using this yarn. Feel this. It's 100% alpaca.
Oh no.
And anyone,
oh, no.
I know, right? Anyone who knows or who has any knitting experience knows you don't knit anything with structure, especially not a sweater, with 100% alpaca, because it stretches and it drapes and it does all sorts of things. But when I got this yarn, and I got it a while back, it was one of those things, I touched it and I needed to take it home so I could sleep with it because it felt so good. But what I didn't appreciate was that it was going to be a striping yarn. Oh. I'm not big into stripes.
So that's one yarn?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the yarn is dyed for the stripes. But this is a kind of an interesting pattern because it does have on every row you've got some eyelets. So you've got your stockinette section and your eyelets, and then you have an eyelet section in between, and then you go on and you do your thing. So I was actually, when I started knitting this, I thought it would be kind of cool because with the stripes, I thought they'd fall at different places, and that would give it some interest. And they're actually falling like at just about exactly the same places all around. So I'm not sure. I may end up being disappointed with this project when it's done, but that's okay. Someone's going to have it for Christmas.
I like it.
Do you?
Yeah.
You going to wear it?
I wouldn't. It's not my color.
My goodness.
I just like the coincidence that that's how it worked out.
Yeah. It's cool when stuff like that happens. Yeah. It's really neat. So my job was to work on my graphite tank. And so that's what it looks like. I got in trouble last week for not having pictures. So that's what the graphite tank looks like.
Who got you in trouble?
We started, who was it? I don't remember. Somebody said, you needed pictures.
Oh.
So you start at the bottom here with these fan sections. And of course, as we talked about last week, gauge is important. So
Yes.
This one called for, here's my gauge swatch. Now the pattern itself is written for knitting flat and being seamed together. I don't do seams if I can possibly avoid it. So I have chosen to manipulate the pattern a little bit and to do it in the round, which means I needed to do my gauge swatch in the round because your tension is different and all that fun stuff. So there's my gauge swatch done in the round. And let me see, the pattern gauge called for 20 stitches by 25 rows per 4 inches. And I came out with 20 stitches per 28 rows in 4 inches. So I had a good look at the pattern to see if that was going to be a problem. And all of the rows, or all the having more rows wasn't really going to be an issue because it's all measurements from here to there, from here to there, from here to there. So I was willing to go ahead with the gauge as I got it because I was more concerned with my side to side gauge, which was perfect. And the rest was just a question of measurements and how many. So it's not like one of those patterns where you have to do a certain number of rows. So I was okay with that and chose to go on. I'm knitting it in the round. Now, whenever you take a flat pattern and you go to knit it in the round, the designer has added stitches to the places where they get seamed together. So in theory, if you're not doing a seam, you need to get rid of those extra stitches at either end of the row. I chose not to do that because I don't want it to be too tight. So that is that. So where did I get to? My hope was to get it cast on, and I did. And I am about halfway through the second fan section. And then I'm doing the decreases up the side as though it was flat. And I have stitch markers so that I know where my sides are. I also have stitch markers at most of the fan sections, but I ran out of stitch markers, so there's about, I don't know, 8 fan sections that I just kind of wing on every round. So to remind you what I'm working towards is I'm going to have these. So this is Cascade Yarns Ultra Pima Cotton. My next fan section will be this purple, and then the body of the sweater will be this sort of very pale greeny yellow color. So that's where I am at with my Graphite Tank. Yes, yes, yes. All right. And looking ahead, something I'm looking forward to getting on the needles again soon is another of these tilted cowl by Sweater Freak. And this came out as a mystery knit along last fall. I think it was September. And I've never done a mystery knit along, so I was like, okay, I'll try this out and see what happens. And I love this cowl. I love the way it knits. It's a really, really quick knit. I think I ended up giving away, at least 3 for Christmas presents last year. The yarn I used in this is Color Adventures, which is knit in-house at a Twist of Yarn, which is the yarn shop in Vernon, BC. And I love these yarns. They're so nice. They're so soft. They're not itchy. And they make me very, very happy. But anyway, yeah. So this is something I'm going to be working on more of these probably for Christmas presents. But like I said, it is such a quick knit. And so that is the Tilted Cowl by Sweater Freak. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike.
Hi.
It's game time.
It's game time.
What game are we going to talk about this week?
Game time is why I'm so tired right now.
He got home. I don't even know when you left the house yesterday.
I got to the place around 1:30 in the afternoon, and I got home around midnight.
Yeah.
And I was playing gaming solidly.
Oh, do you remember last week?
Oh, yeah.
You need to trim this? Yeah, he shaved it all off, and then he said, wait a minute, no, I want more back again. So We'll see what happens next week.
Maybe. Sometimes you want to sit in for a longer game. Carcassonne was 45 minutes. Sometimes you want something you can just play in like 10 minutes. And even, you know what, maybe it fits in your pocket. Kill time at the restaurant while you're waiting for your food. For you, I recommend Sushi Go. Sushi Go. It's a wonderful, it's so adorable. It is. The art's adorable on it.
It's got some cute graphics.
Art. It's a very interesting, very quick to pick up game, and this could easily just go in a purse, in a pocket.
So the concept behind this game is that you're eating at one of those sushi restaurants with the track that goes around, and you reach out and you grab your favorite thing, and you put together your meal. Yeah. On your plate. And so that's how this game works. You have a hand of cards, and you've got various kinds of sushi. I mean, look at those sushi faces. Are those not adorable? Anyway, you have various kinds of sushi in your hand, and you decide, I'm going to keep this kind of sushi, and then you pass your hand along and you get the next one, and it keeps going like that. So depending on how many people you're playing with, you have no idea what's coming. Mm-hmm. And so then you get points for certain things, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. Again, really good. What do they have ages? They say 8+, 2 to 5 players. Another really, really good family game. Really good. It takes like 10 minutes to play. And if you're feeling adventurous, there is also Sushi Go Party, which comes in a great big tin and has more options for playing. Yeah. Sushi Go. Go get it. Good times. It's a fun game. Mm-hmm. So that leaves us with Mike. Hi. What are you going to do this week? You're going to get your sampler scarf, finish off the last section, and decide if I want to continue on with it or just cast it off. And then hopefully I will get started on tread. Okay. Excellent. So if we if we go to the yarn store this week, I'm, besides, having something going on with this thing, I'm right in the thick of it as far as the costumes are going for the show that I'm working on. So, shameless plug. If you're in the Vernon, BC area, get your tickets, come out and see Calendar Girls at Powerhouse Theatre. They're available at Ticket Seller. Anyway, people laugh at me because I'm costuming a show about nudity. What? And then one of my go words is always, okay, no one's going to go on stage naked. Well, except for, anyway. So, get your tickets for Calendar Girls. Okay, so I plan to, timing being allowed, I want to get the colored sections of my graphite tank finished.
Yes.
This week.
Good idea.
And I don't know. That will probably be that. I'm going to miss my knitting ladies on Tuesday night this week because, yeah, I got to sit with the director and talk about costumes as they appear before us on the stage. So.
Oh, I know. I remember what I'm doing tomorrow.
Anyway, so, yay! Thanks for coming back and joining us, if that's what you did. Thanks for visiting us for the first time if you didn't. Or what? I don't know what I just said. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so please like our video because we hope you like us. Subscribe to our video because we can, start doing some fun stuff with maybe giving out prizes and things as we gain more subscribers. Leave us a comment. Let us know who you are. Let us know what you're knitting on. Tell us a little something about you so that we have something to go on, and let us know what you like about knitting. Is there someone in your life who you would like to share the joy of knitting with? Like I shared the joy of knitting with my son. Yeah, I guess that's about it for this week. So, keep your family close and your knitting closer.
Wait, keep your knitting close and your family closer.
Okay, one of those
things.
Bye.
Bye.